Hi everyone, it's Sarah. I am just going to do a quick live this morning, or I guess it's almost afternoon, about how to pick a sperm donor. So last time we talked a little bit about policies, and today we're going to talk a little bit about sort of what the process is of actually picking a donor. So first of all, I think it's important to sit down and really think about what your priorities are. So are you most concerned about educational level, or and how would you measure that? Is it what they studied in school? Is it how far they have gone in school? Remembering that some of the donors are pretty young, so they may not have had a chance to go to grad school yet. Is it their SAT scores or some other diagnostic test? So yeah, how do you rate how intelligent they may seem? Or is it that they're artistic or musical or speak other languages? You know, what kinds of things are important to you? Which ones do you feel like have a genetic component, or you just want to have in a donor, or that kind of thing? So that's what else would I think about? Height, age, maybe ethnic background, whether you want someone who sort of resembles your what they call phenotype, so color of hair, eyes, height, etc. Is there a specific height you want? Do you have an age cutoff? I know that the traditional wisdom is that the age of the sperm donor doesn't matter, but there's actually more research showing that sperm does age too. I would say probably until at least 30, 35 is still okay, but do some research on that if that feels important, or if you're looking at some donors who are quite a bit older. And then one priority that I think is non-negotiable is health, and that is shown through sort of their family background, looking at what kinds of either genetic traits that they may have, like if they've gone through genetic testing, and looking that against anything you know about in your for yourself or in your family. As well as if you're seeing sort of like patterns, like if the uncle and the father both have high blood pressure or strokes, or anything that seems like it really has a strong genetic component, maybe types of Alzheimer's or diabetes, that kind of thing. I think there's enough donors out there that when you find things that are sort of medical, I would just keep moving personally, but we'll talk a little bit about that. So first of all, just kind of getting a general idea of what's important to you, because otherwise you can't start sifting through. And then I would start your search. So look on, it depends, you know, whether you've already chosen a bank, or if you want to kind of peruse a couple of banks to kind of check it out. So make a search, start, you know, pretty broad, putting a lot of people into a potential sort of search, and then you can usually favorite them or bookmark them, that kind of thing. And then I would again go through, and if you haven't already, really dive into the health piece and just reject the ones that have any sort of questionable health stuff going on. Then I would push you to try and start ranking them. I think the process of ranking forces you to discern on sort of a level you don't even know you're conscious of. You're sort of forced to make kind of arbitrary choices to rank some higher or lower. So I would really think about trying to start like a preliminary ranking. And then I've done an article that you guys might want to check out called The 6 Archetypes for How to Pick a Sperm Donor. And I think that, you know, you have to figure out what kind of person you are, and sort of what kind of blend of ways of now choosing come into being for you. So one that I think of is, so there's like a person who loves spreadsheets, who wants to put all of the data and have it easily visible, and then be able to manipulate and rank according to, or be able to at least sort of like look at the spreadsheet visually, all of them together with all of the information. So that's one kind of person. Sorry, my dog is making some sound, and I don't want to hop up, but I hope she's not going to be too, she's a talker. I hope she's not going to be too distracting. Then I would say there's the person who is like the village person, who loves community and really values their community's input. And so I've heard of, everything from what I did was I ranked everyone in a document. I put the photos, like I did a screenshot and cut and pasted photos. And then I put some of the key information, and I asked all of my friends basically to rank. I think I got it down to like 5, which was also really important for me to get it down to that and then have to choose an order. And then I involved tons of people in my community just to sort of see what they would say. I've heard of people having amazingly elaborate parties with champagne and whiteboards, and having each person maybe present one of the donors, voting, and just, you can do all sorts of fun things. And I think, it makes it more, if you're doing it alone, it sort of creates more of a sense of you're not in this alone. And I think you'll be really surprised that a lot of people gravitate to the same donors. And I think that's reassuring. Then there's, I think, people who really just trust their gut. They can look at the details for only so long, and then they just have to make a choice. And, there is a lot of research about how we make choices that suggests that that's not a bad idea, that we can't really keep all the variables in our head. And so when there's that many variables that you're trying to sort out, that just sort of mulling through all the data and then leaving it alone and just picking is a perfectly good approach. So that's the next kind of idea of how you could do it. Then there's the person that I would call sort of like the woo-woo person, who is maybe asking a psychic or a medium, or making a list and sort of asking like maybe a list of what kind of qualities they want, either sort of from a spirit level or just as a person, and sort of invoking something and asking for that kind of guidance. And I think that's perfectly legitimate too. I did some sort of blends of this in my searches. You may also sort of be someone who's looking more for sort of resonance, and this could be kind of like an idea of who do you just feel good about, or just you keep coming back to and you can't get them out of your mind, or the opposite, that you just kind of like constantly just kind of like, I don't know, I just keep coming back to this donor and having hesitation. Do you feel sort of like some inexplicable maybe like karmic connection, or some sort of like resonance, something that just makes you feel good about this donor? Some people come to this from the idea of like, would I ever date this person? And certainly when you only have baby pictures, it can sometimes get a little bit weird, or if you don't have any pictures. But I think there is something around sort of the stickiness, or like that if you were doing this the old-fashioned way, you would be looking at whether you're attracted to them. So I think that's another good way to think about it. And then finally, once you've really narrowed it down, I would really look at the profiles from a standpoint of that when you show this profile to your child. So I would advocate for definitely explaining to your child their donor origins from a very young age, and we can talk about that more another time. But I think that there's going to come an age when your child wants to see their profile, the donor's profile, and you want to think that they're going to probably hang on like every single word of this profile. And so how can you provide something that you feel really proud about, or that there's not anything that's going to feel like your kid's going to be like, why did you pick that donor? Or something embarrassing, or sometimes a lot of the donors are very flippant, it seems, in the way they respond to the questions. And I felt like my child would be so hurt if they read that. So I really looked for, some of the people put so much time and effort into their essays, and I really liked that. So those are kind of all the things I would keep thinking about. And also in general, just no guilt. If there's something that's coming up that you're like, oh, I'm really concerned about whether or not they're attractive, that's okay. It's like you have to pick something to focus on. So if that, don't second guess yourself and feel like it's frivolous or that you shouldn't want that, just go for it. You have to pick something. So that would be my thoughts. And of course, you know, there's the other considerations that come in that are sort of more bank related in terms of whether or not they what the family limit is and whether they're open ID and that kind of thing, which I realize is not possible in some countries. But if it is, good to think about. So anyways, that's it for today. I'm off to Montreal next week. I'm hoping I'm going to get to jump on live, but I'm not sure if I will. So happy sperm donor picking. And again, don't forget that I have that guide on my homepage, motherhoodreimagined.org or .com, that's about sperm donor policies. And then on my blog, I have a couple different articles around picking sperm donors. So if you have more questions, please either post them to the bottom of this video if it's something related to this, or just post it in the group. And I will keep looking at those questions. All right, thanks you guys, bye.